Hello and welcome to the Sheffield Hopcast. We are back after having a weekend off last weekend, kind of life and bits and bobs getting in the way for all of us. But we are on a reduced team this week because Laura is away. Lockdown, do you remember that? It was a thing once upon a time, but now obviously kind of getting back to normal life. So it's three of us tonight. I'm James. We've got Sean there. We've got Adam there. We were supposed to be joined by a guest as well, but unfortunately for various circumstances, not going to be able to join us. So we will hopefully get this guest on at a later date. In their honour, we'll stick with our original beer theme, which is vegan beers. So, vegan beers, vegan-friendly beers is kind of the theme that we were going for this week's episode. So, who wants to go first? Let's go to Adam.
Hello.
Hi.
I had a bit of a choice, but I've gone for Magic Rock, which is probably something we don't see as much of in the kind of mainstream crafty world. But this is a beer that I've gone back to, and it's Clairvoyance, a double dry hopped IPA. It's a supermarket beer now, but it is one that if I am going shopping, I'll grab one off the shelf. 7.2%. Very nice. Big can.
That's a strong one for a Sunday, that.
Why not, eh?
What is it, Adam? What's the ABV on that one again?
7.2. 7.2.
Mm.
Isn't that your perfect strength, James?
I knew that.
7.2, something like that. The question is Sean going higher or lower than 7.2? I reckon he's going to chicken out and go lower.
I'm a very, very competitive person, but I've been caught on the hop. I have been caught on the hop. So I did have two options from this particular brewery, and one of them was a lot stronger than one that I've selected, but would still not have beaten Adam. So it is an easy victory for him. So I've gone for a brewery actually that I don't think we featured very much on the Hopcast, and can't think of any real reason for that. They're one of the UK's most popular modern day craft breweries, very well heard of and easy to access. So I've gone for a Verdant Pale Ale. This is one of their newer ones called Unnecessary Sockets. It's a 5.2% pale ale, which is about bang on for me actually. 5.2% is about the mark that I like for an earlier beer. And it features a hop that not only have I not had before, but I've got to admit I've never heard of before. So it's got Equinox in there, it's got Brew One in there, and Mosaic. But it's also got a hop called a Meridian. And so I don't know anything about it, but we'll make sure I might do a little bit of online research while we're recording and see if I can find out a little bit more about Meridian. Where do we think Meridian is from as a hop? It suggests a new world.
What's the Meridian?
Australia, maybe.
What's
Meridian
the Meridian
line? Yeah, goes through the centre of.
Oh no, is it? Oh, I can't remember what it is.
Yeah,
something to do with time or.
Yeah,
I think
it's a line that goes
of the earth.
I'm going to go for Stevenage.
What as a potential destination for the hop?
Yeah,
Stevenage.
Yeah.
Greenwich.
It feels perhaps. The Meridian line runs through places like. Wait, is it not the equator? Is that not the same thing as the Meridian line?
Should we look it up before we start getting
stupid?
Have to. So this is why we stick to beer.
Yeah, I better. I'm out of practice because I used to know all that from my tourism teaching, of course, but I'm slightly out of practice with it. So I'll open this now, and I've got a Verdant pint glass, which I don't use very often. I don't have a pint glass that much, and if I do, I tend to go with one of my more traditional ones. So a Verdant pint glass to go with my Verdant Pale Ale.
Matching Beautiful. Combo. I like that.
Yeah,
I feel like we should clarify. Sorry, go on.
I'm wearing a Beaver Town T-shirt, unfortunately, so that spoils it all completely.
At least, though, you are filling the void left by Laura not being here and her beer attire. we should clarify, by the way, from our earlier conversation, there's nothing wrong with drinking beers that are less than 7.2%. In fact, it would be very advisable to drink beers that are less than 7.2%. I'm going 6.2, but I'm going really big can, and I'm going. I think it's the first time that we featured this brewery on the Hopcast. I can't remember a time that we featured them before, but we'll find out. And this is from Deya, and it is Something Good 6.
Yeah, I think you're right.
I've got a new camera now, so I'm like, oh, where is it? There it is. So this is. Oh, it doesn't tell me what's in it. Oh, it does. It's a citrus delight, taking a fruity IPA and adding orange, pink grapefruit, and lemon zest to the party. Dry hopped with Sabro Mateka. Is that how you pronounce it?
Motsweka, yeah.
And lemon drop.
Yeah.
Incidentally,
So
I'm really struggling with that.
Sabro will bring you quite a lot of coconut.
That is, I don't know if you can see that or not. That's terrible colouring on that orange writing on a blue can. Cannot read that at all. But very much vegan beer. I also just love the fact that just randomly on the side it says 24-hour party croc. No explanation for that. Just some pictures of crocodiles on the can. I hope the beer is as much entertainment as I've got from the can, to be honest.
Very good.
Am I right in thinking we've not done Deya before on the?
I don't think we have now.
I don't think.
Yeah,
we have.
probably. Yeah, we used to stock them in 2017, but have just not been able to get them to allow us to stock. But the lads down at Past hired out, get some of their cans in. Luke down at a beer stop at Dromfield, but we can't get on the chosen list, unfortunately, at the moment.
Yeah, I think bar stewards have historically tried really hard to get their beers, even to offer them a kind of house beer at some points. So I don't know.
It's a bit easier if you're taking keg as well. Yeah, but we stopped them. We stopped Steady Rolling Man and a few others back in 2017, before they were famous, maybe. But then they had a problem with their canning and had to recall a load of cans. And that then led to them not doing any cans at all for about 12 months until they commissioned their own canning line, and have been rolling with that now for a couple of years, I would guess. So very sought after, definitely.
Steady rolling with that.
Yeah.
Yeah, they are notoriously a slightly difficult brewery to get hold of. Although, so I did quite a lot of work in Leeds, and there's a place up there called Little Leeds Beer House, which
Rich is good mates with them.
Yeah, so that was when I think there was nowhere else in the entirety of the UK other than from the brewery. I think that place in Leeds was the only place where you could get them. But that has changed a bit. Obviously, bar stewards do stock them now, and I actually got this from Turner's, which was a bit of a surprise.
Turner's as well. Yeah,
they've started getting one or two cans in as well. So just starting to become a little bit easier to source around Sheffield. But a brewery I've got a lot of time for, because a bit like Verdant in the early days, really, in terms of you kind of feel like the beers are a little bit spectacular. Like you're just not going to have a bad one. It's going to do what it says it's going to do, and it's just going to do it well. I've always been a fan.
There's a wholesaler called Pig's Ears, who have got extra capacity now, or certainly did just at the start of lockdown, and will again shortly. Pig's Ears are also wholesaling for them, but their beers go on sale. I think it might be a Thursday at 4:00 on the Pig's Ears website, and you have to be very quick. And over the last few weeks, I've just not even made an effort because I've been doing something at that time. But that's also another angle for getting their beers if you can't get them direct. Pig's Ears.
Right. Okay. Cool. Good stuff. So, Adam, you are drinking Magic Rock. We've not had a Magic Rock beer for I was going to say for a while, but actually we did, didn't we? Because I think Matt had a Magic Rock beer a couple of weeks ago on the gluten.
No, he didn't. He had a T-shirt on.
Oh, he just had the T-shirt on. He didn't have the beer.
He had Brew York, didn't he?
He did. You're right.
Gluten gone.
So it is a while since we've had. A Magic Rock
we had
beer.
we had Phantasma. We also did one when we did the episode at New Barrett Tavern. It was one where they did like a collab with someone and they both brewed it at their own breweries. I can't remember what that was with. But it was one of the big kind of the big cans. But this is really good actually. Like it's really bitter actually for a kind of a hazy beer. You kind of expect a bit more, a bit sweeter, but it's really good. It's really good. I don't really have a problem buying their beers, to be fair. I can understand why an independent, like bottle shopper would, maybe swerve it, but they're still making good beers. The core beers are still pretty good, and I don't go out of my way to buy them, but I don't really have no personal issue buying or drinking their beers. So
I mean, we probably all know of a venue in Sheffield that we may have already referenced actually on this podcast, who overnight removed all traces of Magic Rock from their venue after it was all sort of announced. Sean, what's your kind of feelings on this one?
I didn't blame the lads at the time for completing a sale of their brewery. They're a private sort of sector company. They've worked hard over a number of years, and I suppose most private companies are in the game to make some money out of running a business. That's the only way you can survive, really. And ultimately, I suppose, if a private company is offered an amount of money that reaches the temptation line, then you can't blame people for considering that. What you can then consider, perhaps, is in our particular case, is how it affects our business. And certainly, the tradition seems to show in the UK that the minute that a brewery steps from the independent world into a more macro-owned world, that for us in our little environment, the demand starts to drop off. And so customer demand generally will lead the way. So that happened with 4Pure, who I think are under the same ownership actually as Magic Rock Lion, yeah. And so despite supporting Magic Rock from we had high wiring bottles on the day that we opened, and I would still gladly have a drink with the lads there and team there. But we've just chosen now, just more recently since lockdown, perhaps not to stock anymore. And if they're available freely in supermarkets as well, we've got to again consider that commercial pressures come into that. So currently we have no Magic Rock in the shop and no real plans to return, unless we get a flood of customers calling in tomorrow saying desperately we need some. But I don't think that's
it's that it's kind of that economies of scale thing, isn't it, really, where there's you can't compete. They Tesco or Morrison's do the boxes of like high wire grapefruit and stuff now, which I've not seen them in the supermarket. But if you could get 8 cans of that for 10 quid, well, you can't touch that because you're not buying thousands of cans of it in bulk. And you just, I suppose that's kind of another reason that you suppose you just decide to sever ties with these things, is just you can't. There's no you can't compete, can you, basically?
Yeah, I wouldn't call it a severing of ties particularly. It's just sort of we try to do it in a way where we just almost drift away from a brewery for whatever reason it might be, but we try and drift away. We stocked some of their beers up until lockdown in March in a smaller way than we had done before. But we've drifted away. We still get their weekly email on a Friday tea time. I still have a look at it, see what they've got available. They've got a hazelnut, I think it's a hazelnut dark arts that keeps catching my eye. I know that would probably sell all right. But in the end, we've probably just drifted over the line and away. And that happens with a number of different breweries for different reasons. There's always someone else that we can go to or try for new. We've been stocking Double Barrel and that more recently, who are very new to us. We buy direct from Verdant now rather than via wholesalers, direct from Wylam and so on. So things change, and a bit of a musical chairs situation. But I wish my I'll find myself sat in tap over the coming 12 months and enjoying a nice afternoon in Huddersfield. So I don't tend to get sort of too controversial about it. Just drift away quietly.
Just tying it back to the vegan thing, the Arab brewery that springs to mind is one of those who kind of quite publicly became like, our beers are all vegan. And it was like, it's one of the only breweries I can think about historically making a kind of a campaign about it, in some minor way, but it was brought out and it was kind of all, put out there properly rather than snuck out.
It puzzles me, this, Adam, actually, the vegan element. The vast majority of modern UK beers are vegan, unless generally they might have a bit of lactose in there, as opposed to findings on the more traditional side of things. But a lot of breweries tend to go about that very, very quietly and don't actually identify their beer as vegan on the can and or the bottle. And that puzzles me slightly in sense of I don't see any disadvantage to it. Abbeydale, we mention all the time on here, of course, but Abbeydale are very good at identifying on their cans what is gluten-free, what is not, what is vegan, what is not. And I think a lot of other breweries, for the sake of just a small change on a label, could really go down that route, and it does get into people's consciousness, and perhaps it is a more sustainable way of doing things long term. So I think it's an advantage that a lot of breweries don't still quite yet take advantage of.
Did you find that?
Whereas on gluten free, I think some people, some buyers, I can see why breweries might not identify that sometimes, because some buyers might think something is missing. But in the case of a vegan beer, I don't really see any drinkers out there considering that beer to having something missing.
I agree with that.
It's the reverse.
It suggests that it's going to be, a cloudier beer, a hazy beer, doesn't it? That you kind of think of unfined, unpasteurized, all that kind of unfiltered. You kind of, you associate that with the beers that have become particularly popular in the last kind of 3 or 4 years have been a little bit soupy, very, very thick, quite heavy beers. But maybe that's an association that some breweries don't want people to make with their beers. I don't know. Does that? I mean, I still imagine now in pubs there are people that if they get a beer and it's a little bit hazy, they're taking it straight back because it's a bit dirty or something like that.
Yeah, depending on where you drink, I suppose, on that. Most of the pubs that we might go in nowadays probably have much less of that as compared with historically. But I suppose if I went in Banker's Draft and bought a pint of Bradfield Blonde, I would expect it to be clear, and if it wasn't, I'd probably assume that the beer wasn't right and would take it back. So there are still clear reasons to do that on different occasions, but it just puzzles me why some breweries don't actually really give it a stamp on their pump clips, on their bottles, on their cans, and so on. And some very good more traditional breweries, perhaps North Riding at Scarborough, a good example, who are a modern brewery but still brew some beers. They're brilliant at their 4% pales. All of theirs are vegan, but sometimes you have to keep shouting it.
I suppose some people brew beer and they're not really thinking about that kind of, they're not that kind of marketing kind of aware led kind of brewery where they're not thinking, of course there's no meat or dairy in our beers, so why point out it's beer? And I think probably that's the same with like with like the regular public, general public, is that who's really, unless you kind of thinking about it because you obviously want to avoid it, the person that are thinking, well, why would there be anything that's like animal product in there? Because you just don't know unless you kind of more educated on it, and you know that we know there's findings from fish bladder and stuff, but you only find it out because you've got an interest or a passion, or you've come across someone who's just happened to tell you, like, oh, do you know they use fish bladders and just to fine beer or whatever. So maybe it's just that they're just kind of thinking, Well, not putting it on because surely that's obvious. There's no.
Yeah, to be fair to again most modern breweries, they know that there's nothing in their own beer, and so just assume that everyone perhaps knows. We would never use findings or an animal product in a beer, and shrug the shoulders and say we would never do that. But sometimes you just have to. From a retail point of view, it's very useful if it's on there. Sam Smiths are another good example. There's a vegan. And so people are shocked when we tell them that in the shop.
Do they not publicise that then?
Yeah, they do. Yeah, they're one of the good ones. They're
Right.
one of the ones that give it the rightful attention, and that's very useful then from a point of view of customers making a decision or us helping someone purchase something.
We should start a campaign for clearer vegan labelling. Or perhaps we should go the opposite. Maybe all beers should be assumed vegan unless they declare contains fish.
Yeah, there's a very good website, which I've not been on perhaps for a few months, but there's a very good website called Barnivore, which is worth using, and you can type in there a brewery name or a beer name, and it will give you fantastic information about whether a beer instantaneously, whether a beer is vegan or not.
All right, that's cool. That's good. That's good to know. Actually, that's very handy. Right, 2 weeks since we last recorded, then, and obviously we recorded the day after pubs had reopened last time, so plenty of time for us to all kind of reflect on stuff. I have been to a pub once for 1 2/3 of a pint, so very much a passing visit, and only been to one. But I'll talk about that in a bit. What about you two? Sean, have you been back in a pub yet?
No, and not because perhaps we wouldn't want to go in a pub, but there are two issues. The pubs that we want to go in are mostly in Sheffield, and so the issue there is transport. We don't live in Sheffield. We live a decent drive away. And so kind of going in and having a drink and a drive, of course, that would be ridiculous. And so if we went out and had a couple of hours in the Rutland, I would love to do that. It's just around the corner from where we are. It then means having to use public transport to get home, and I'm more inclined to. That might sound silly, but I'm more inclined to go into a pub than I am to perhaps rely and use public transport at the minute. Our local, which is still a 40-minute walk, but our local, the Wath Tap, has not yet reopened. And so end of July, I think they're aiming for. And so we've got other pubs that are closer to where we live, but we'd have to have a pint of Carling each. So we've not bothered.
I didn't realise it was a 40-minute walk to your.
Down into Wath.
Well, there's other pubs.
Walking there and walking back.
We might be able to make it half an hour. But where we are does have a pub. We've got a pub that's now our cottage content is one side, but we have which is reopened, Adam, I might add. But we have the London Tavern, which is a nice walk, actually. You can walk down some canal paths and things across to it over the back. They have Bradfield Blonde and I think Leeds Pale when I was last in. So that's another potential option, but that would be an evening walk across, which we've just not. The weather's not been amazing, and so we've just not got on with that yet. So
I appreciate, Sean, that it was the name of the beer, but no more mention of the L word, please. It is banned on this podcast.
Lundell at Leeds.
Oh yeah, Leeds. Yeah, I am one of the few people that spends a lot of time in Sheffield. That doesn't mind Leeds that much. I'm perhaps one of the few people that's from Barnsley that doesn't mind Leeds.
Actually, James, I think you've actually said Leeds a couple of times in this episode already. Little Leeds ale.
I think I have actually. Yeah. All right.
Yeah.
Let's move on. None of us want to have this conversation.
Shall I tell you about my experience at the pub?
Tell us your experience, Adam.
I'll say I have.
Was it in Leeds?
No. Well, my kind of thing. I've stayed like really, really local. I've not had any reason to kind of really venture anywhere further than, a stone's throw. I've still not been to my proper local, which is the Wisewood yet, even though I did go for a walk and I bumped into one of the guys who runs it and said, like, you're going the wrong way, the pub's that way. But I had a quite quick conversation just over the road, basically, saying that they were still doing booking only, and they trialed like a kind of a walk-up thing on a Sunday, and they decided to stop doing it for now. So I don't really know if it just didn't really work out. But on Friday, we attempted to go to the Nag's Head, which is the Bradfield Brewery tap, which is like probably my second closest pub. Drove past that, and it just wasn't any seating outside, so just carried on to Bradfield. Went to where the Plough is at Lower Bradfield, which is also kind of a Bradfield brewery-led pub, and that had plenty of space outside. I mean, it was kind of 4:30 on a Friday. We drove out, me and my wife and my daughter, and my experience of it was absolutely top notch. Could not fault it in any way. You walked up, they told you where you could seat, you could pick your own seat. Table service, everything was clear. Everything was really, really good. Toilets were absolutely immaculate, which is, and it was kind of, we had a little conversation between us, just saying like, there's loads of benefits from this. Now I'm kind of sat there and I feel comfortable in this kind of thing. It just feels very European. It feels very, like, this is nice, this, but I prefer this to having to go to a bar. And it was not just that. It's just, like I said, the toilet situation. They'd clean them all the time. No, it's not, for men, I always imagine it's not quite much of a big deal because you're not having to sit down on toilets as often and stuff. But, and just having that, it felt like staff were like super vigilant, and it's kind of on their mind. So they're thinking about things, they're not lazily just trying to get through a shift anymore. I'm not saying that I was lazy, but how work is. But
you did say
kind
the
of
word
really,
lazily.
You know what I mean? You just, you just get to work, don't you? You thought, right, I finish at 10, let's get through it. But they're having to like really think about loads of processes, which I think, like, even when I went to pay at the end, she's like, how did you find it? I said, it was brilliant. Like, and she's like, it's all right, isn't it? Like, she was saying, it's quite good. It feels quite European. I'm like, yeah, it is. And I think she was saying like she'd hope for some of these things to maybe stay, the other thing is that we're thinking is that, like, it gives back the control to the bar or the pub in terms of like managing your kind of customers a little bit. Be like a restaurant. Like, in a restaurant, you're not all just like, you're not getting a rush on of people ordering food because someone comes to you and you can manage how often people you visit them. So you might not have someone at the end of the bar who's drunk 5 pints in an hour because you've not gone back to him yet to get his second, third, fourth order in an hour. And I think you're kind of a bit more like conscious of who's drunk what and stuff, because you kind of you're managing your customers. And then today I've been for lunch up at the Old Horns up at High Bradfield. So basically, I've only drunk Bradfield beers since. But that again,
Adam,
sat inside.
That sounded like you were giving a call out to High Bradfield.
Hi Bradfield. High. There's a high and a low.
Oh, hi.
Best beer garden in the country, as far as I'm concerned.
Is it? I'm going to disagree with that.
Our view, you can't, like, that is just absolutely, you can't knock that view. When people talk about beer gardens in Sheffield, I always think
view. All right, you could have it in terms of view. Yeah.
Well, it's big as well. But yeah, that were again absolutely perfect. The way that we were dealt with, and all the kind of ins and outs, didn't feel overly kind of clinical, or it didn't make you feel stressed. It was just like they've been doing it forever. And so yeah, big shout out to everyone I've dealt with so far. They've been amazing. So I think that some of these things I'd like to kind of keep.
And I know what you're saying there, because it is that kind of continental feel that you get. And a fortnight ago I sat here and said I've got no immediate plans to go back to a pub anytime soon, and I hadn't done. But where I live now, my local pub is the Stag's Head on Salter Lane, and I walked past it and realised that anyone that knows the Stag, it's kind of got like a split level car park. There's like a lower bit and then an upper bit, and they basically just fenced off the upper bit and made it just one giant big beer garden. And the tables are miles apart. And I walked past thinking, that looks really, really safe. It looks like it would be a pleasant experience to go there for a beer. So I did last Friday night. So not Friday gone, Friday before. Me and a friend went. We only stayed for about an hour and a half or so, but exactly the same experience as you, Adam, in terms of it felt very organised. They knew what they were doing. The only thing that I didn't like is not being able to go and have a bit of a nosy at the bar to see like the beers, and it's kind of like having the beers described to you is one thing, but I like to see beer labels. It sort of plays a role in my judgment, kind of the label on a beer. So that was a bit of the only thing that I could really pick fault with. Apart from that, I mean, the Stag have done an incredible job. They've got kind of plastic dividers up between all the tables inside.
Yeah,
Got specific corridors. Like if you want to go to the toilet, you've kind of got to go right round a one-way system and back through and stuff like that. It feels very, very well done. And overall, just a really pleasant experience. So what I would say from what I've seen, and this is someone that's just seen from the outside looking in, I've walked past pubs, and obviously I kind of walk around the Ecclesall Road area quite a bit. I've walked past pubs and thought, well, they've not really done anything. So I think there is a divide between pubs that are taking it really seriously and doing everything they can to really make people feel safe, and some pubs and bars that are just going, oh yeah, please socially distance, and that's it. That's the extent of what some places are doing. So I think there is a divide in the places that are doing it properly and the places that are just saying, oh, you have to write your name on this sheet before you can come in. And that's like the extent of that. And I have seen a few places on Ecclesall Road where, there've been people spilling out and, looked like very much like a normal Saturday night without any evidence of even social distancing, to be fair.
Yeah. I think the one thing that actually kind of it softened some of the clinical process, I've not really thought about it until you just said it, but for example, when I went to the Plough, obviously they're doing table service, so you order your first drinks, and they just said, could I just take a name and a contact? And like, obviously that feels a lot less clinical than when I've seen somewhere else, where you're physically writing it down. Well, they're doing that work for you, and it's done then. And same when we obviously booked a table for lunch there, and she said, oh, do I need to write my name in the book? She went, no, we've got it all because you rang up and you booked a table. You know what I mean? So like there's some kind of clinical processes which you kind of think, oh, that's going to be really weird. And they're not really, some people are really kind of ironed that like awkwardness out already. It just feels it's normal. It's quite nice. It's quite nice to be back.
I think I follow lots of pub. I'm sure you two do. I follow lots of pubs and things on social media, and so I've paid a lot of attention to who's done what. And I've not seen a better prepared and operated pub than a particular Sheffield pub. I've not seen any better in the UK. I have not seen any better anywhere in the UK or even world. I could be awarding them the world's best.
Can we guess?
Yeah, so,
can we guess?
I know you're going to say.
I hope both of you guess it instantly, because that means they've made the same impression on you two as well.
Mill owners.
Yeah.
Absolutely outstanding from Matt and his team down there.
I mean, basically drawn massive circles around all the.
It looks like a school playground.
Yeah.
They've done it. They've done it brilliantly. It just looks spectacular.
It's that kind of like nice bridge between, their actual like literature about it is kind of slightly passive aggressive in ways, but like in that kind of, it still feels like if you're on the right side of the fence, that's cool to say, and if you're not, well, you're a dickhead anyway. So
it is basically all those rules. What they basically say is, look, if you're just one of those dickhead sorts, just don't bother coming here because we don't want you.
We're going to
and I love that. I love that. I think that's fantastic, and fair play to them. And you know what? When that place actually opened as a bar, I remember thinking, God, it's kind of middle of nowhere. That I'd be surprised if it does well and it lasts. But, they were doing a great job anyway. But the world that we now find ourselves in, what a fantastic venue to be able to do that. Because if there's one thing they've got there, it's space, isn't it? It's basically like the lower level of the Steel City Beer Festival every day of the week, isn't it? With the amount of space that they've got there.
As long as it's nice weather. But I imagine they're operating there's a good service indoors, but yeah, obviously it's a business and they're going to retweet and stuff about things that people have said about it, but the things that people have said about it, who have been just, faultless, isn't it? Really, just why would you not shout about what people have said about you, to encourage people to come down? Especially like you said, it is in Kelham Island, which is a drinking area, but it is like you have got to go out your way to find that, because it's tucked away down a little. Well, it's not even a street, is it? You have to kind of go off the street and then into a museum, walk through some gates, and then right to the back corner. And then, people who've been to the beer festival know, but if you've not, you would definitely think you were going the wrong way.
Yes, absolutely. Yeah, it does. It just feels like you're just walking into the middle of nowhere, doesn't it? I'm sure we've all got. I mean, there are. I think if we had the chance to mention every venue that has reopened and done a fantastic job, we would want to do in order to support them. It did catch my eye that Shakespeare's now reopened. Obviously, they've opened the upstairs as well, which we kind of talked about a little bit with Lucy, didn't we, about what they might do. And you actually think about that place with that upstairs open, and then obviously the separate kind of stairs to go down, and then the outside area, and you realise actually they've got a lot of surface area as well, haven't they? There, like that's quite a big old building that, and there are obviously other venues that I think we're all kind of like patiently waiting to reopen as well, which
the Rutland and the Crow are back open, and they've seemed to be having...
Are they open now? I didn't know they were.
They are. Industry Tap as well, down towards Hillsborough, Steph at New Barrack and all that. They're all doing a good job.
Like slight deviation, but probably worth pointing out that Industry Tap is now a non-lost industry
Tap.
So Darren, who runs the bar, will be running it independently of the brewery, and I think they've got the reasons. It's nothing to do with it not working. I think it's just they want to put more focus in the brewing, and it's not going anywhere. It's just they might probably have a slight name rejig, but it will be operated as a independent bar. No doubt it will stock Lost Industry beers, but bit of news.
Are we doing a beer of the month? I've had my beer of the year. I've had my beer of the year. So
go on, throw one in. Don't matter if we've not got one.
Hey,
It doesn't matter if we've not got one. Go for it.
So you're Norway, lads. If I can get you to guess again, collaboration between Yorkshire and Norway, and I've sucked both of them from a mug because I've had to.
Is it Lervig?
Lots of listeners will be shouting this out and
is it
unable to understand you. It is, Adam. Go on, keep going. You're beating James at the moment. No,
that's Lervig and North, isn't it?
It's going to be Imperial something. It has to be an Imperial something.
I think this is level at the moment. You've guessed the names. James has guessed the style. Come on.
All right. Okay. All right.
Why would I drink it in a mug?
Tea.
Because it was hot.
It's Earl Grey.
Well, getting close, James. Actually, getting close. It is the Lervig North Nitro Hot Chocolate Stout, and it's 10%. Gentlest, chocolatiest 10% stout I have ever had in my life. And when you sup it in a little mug, your little coffee mug, I've got a hot chocolate mug in the cupboard which I've had it. It's remarkably authentic. Yeah, a brilliant beer, and there's no over sweetness with it either. I think they've sometimes with such as the Amundsen desserts that they're really, really sweet, very nice, but you feel the sweetness draining through you. On this one, they've just balanced it perfectly. Definite.
That's good.
So well done, you two. You got that.
It was a guess.
What we got? Go on, Adam. What's yours? Beer of the week, beer of the month, beer of the year.
Is it really crap to say like it's having a really your first cask beer of the
last
4 months?
What was it? I'm interested. Was it blonde?
Well, this is the thing, Right, I asked for a pint of pale ale, which is their 5% beer, which I tend to like upgrade myself to.
Yeah.
But I kind of feel like they poured me a blonde.
So the ordering system, failed.
No, maybe it's just that I'm just not drunk it for that long. I'm just like I've just lost that kind of muscle memory on some.
So that's it. That's very interesting. Trust is a big thing.
It will have been.
When we go to a bar and we order our drink, we will often watch what's been poured and look at it and the labels and everything else. And now you're having to trust that someone is going to come back with exactly what you've asked for, Adam. And so that's an interesting.
To be honest, it's probably not that though. I can't be.
That's checking now.
And as an experience, it's nice to be back on the cask wagon.
On the cask.
Yeah. I don't know really. I can't think of. It's probably of the last month. It's probably Wanderer. I know we talked about it 2 weeks ago, but that's really good. I'm very. Yeah, that's probably is. I've got a sniff that Deliverance coming back out again as well, so maybe see if we can get one of those.
So you're looking ahead.
Yeah, I've got a couple of weeks left. Depends if you go in calendar month or not. So
yeah, James, you got what did you have at the stag, by the way?
I had Green Mountain, and I had a wheat beer, which wasn't a Thornbridge beer, and I can't remember who it was, but it was all right. It wasn't spectacular. My beer of the month actually comes from about 3 weeks ago, and I loved it so much I took a photo of it to make sure that I remembered, which I can show you. It is Vibrant Forest, Darkened Ardour, which is an Imperial Tonka and coffee stout, which sounds as good as the description, which was, I think it's 10.5%. And it was beautiful. I have a bit of a thing for Tonka stouts anyway, and there's kind of like a few knocking around, and I just think, why does anyone make a stout that's not a Tonka bean stout? Because they're just so much better than anything else. But that was lovely, very, very, very nice, and without doubt my favourite beer of the last month.
Yeah, we mentioned the L word earlier, and I got confused slightly because. I think the L word that we're missing more than anything would love that particular beer. So where is Laura? I didn't realise until 5 minutes before we started recording that Laura wasn't going to be on. I imagined that she would be sat on a beach
I've seen
talking
Jim,
to us.
I've seen a picture of Jim with his very big beard and hair. He's basically losing any bit of his face now. At a beach. I think they might have been at Scarborough, but I think they were heading somewhere remote, little... these little kind of...
Oh, right. Yeah, you're right. Yeah, somewhere on the edge of the North Yorkshire moors, I think, wasn't it? Very good. So we're missing you, Laura. I'm sure she'll be watching this, so I thought I'd get the Laura wave and everything in.
We'll let Laura do her beer of the month next time.
Yeah,
because it's only.
I think she'll probably pick yours, James, even though she's not had it. Perhaps that sounds right up her street.
Well, I did notice that Imperial Tonkoko's doing its rounds again, isn't it?
Yes, it is. Yeah. Brew York. Absolutely smashing out the beers.
I picked up a normal Tonkoko earlier today because weirdly the Green Shop has some random guest beers, and I looked at it and said, "Oh, it's suitable for vegetarians." I thought, "Oh, well, it'll be vegan then." Then my brain went lactose. Yeah. It took me a while to get, but it's a cracking. It took me a while. I think if you've never had any Tonka beers, I think the first one you might not enjoy. I don't think it's.
I could see being a love or hate thing.
It's a flavour that's so unfamiliar because I don't think anything really tastes like that.
No, I agree with that. It's still. I think Tonka beans are illegal in like half the countries of the world, aren't they?
Yeah.
And I can see why, because they're absolutely addictive. Normal Tonkoko, by the way, is one of those beers that falls into the category of just being ridiculous value for what it is. Because it's like, £4 or whatever. It's a superb beer, that for the money. Absolutely tremendous. Fair play to Brew York for keeping that so well priced.
It's perhaps time for a proper shout out for the Green Shop. I noticed online that they got some beautiful new signage.
Yeah,
and that's up Adam. So it's in Hillsborough, I think, and they stock a lot of Sheffield beers, but others as well.
Yeah. It's kind of it's on Waddesley Lanes. It's between like Hillsborough and Waddesley. It's
Yeah.
near. It's kind of near the Horse and Jockey, which is the standstill pub. It's between that and Hillsborough Stadium, basically. But yeah,
Yeah.
it used to be Granville's, which was like a play on the open all hours thing.
Yeah.
You couldn't go behind the till thing. Everything's behind the. But yeah, it's opened up.
Shopkeeper.
It's very kind of local, independent kind of source of obviously a little bits and bobs, but yeah, it's actually been a bit of a lifesaver, during lockdown. Just for them odd bits that people just gravitate straight to Tesco and other stuff. But yeah, they've got a nice, good stock and well priced, and it's just easy for me to be able to literally walk there and grab it. So yeah, Abbeydale, St Mars of the Desert, Steel City, Loxley, Thornbridge.
Brew York.
Yeah, just literally one can of Tango. So, yeah, I think they're just trying to. They must be doing all right with it because the turnover of the local stuff's so good. So I think they're just kind of just testing the water with some more. Yeah.
My sister-in-law, Deborah's sister Lindsay, has been in York for the weekend, and they've had a really brilliant experience as well. Thought that all the pubs had really planned things beautifully and felt very safe while they were there. So it seems that not just Sheffield is doing things right. They've had a lovely couple of nights away. So anybody fancying a little trip to escape the sort of lockdown period, then York's another great option at the moment. Although I don't think Brew York is open yet.
No, I think my general overview is I was kind of not bothered about. I was kind of quite happy to crack on for a while, but having done it and seeing what effort people have put in, if you are someone who's maybe a little bit anxious about it, just find somewhere that does do something outside and pick a nice day and just test the water, and you'll probably find that if you follow on social media and stuff that people aren't taking the mick with it. They realize it's a very serious thing, and you do one thing wrong and you close it again, aren't you? It only takes one little slip, and But yeah, you might find some of the things you'd probably prefer to stay than be temporary. It's quite nice. It's quite nice just sitting down and going, well, someone's going to come and ask me what I want, and they're going to bring it back, and
not having to fight to get to the bar. It's great.
Yeah,
what's to dislike about that? It's fantastic.
Did either of you get something I've never enjoyed is being verbally told a menu or a list of something. I'm not that auditory in that sense. So did either of you, I realise this brings a separate safety issue, but were either of you handed a list of the beers that were available? Was it just a verbal instruction?
It was at the Stag,
I didn't know. But I think, I'm thinking about mine and James's experience of both being places where, like, obviously the Stag, not obviously, but Stag is a Thornbridge pub, so you're going to get their core range plus maybe.
And yours was Bradfield,
kind of Bradfield. So you kind of, I just said, "Have you got pale ale on?" And they're like, "Yeah."
Yeah.
And I imagine James, you probably did a similar thing where you just took a punt on something you fancied, or.
Yeah, well, I said, "What have you got on?" And they just reeled through the Thornbridge beers, and obviously I know them all, and they were like, "And these are the guest ones that we've got on," and they were all breweries that I'd heard of and stuff. So yeah, they could run through everything, and they knew. I wonder if in time that we'll see more using like online stuff, whereby they'll say, if you want to see the beer list, then go here, and there are already bars that do that, aren't there, that have like an online beer list.
Tapped screen things sometimes. You get, don't you?
So I suspect that will come more of a thing, and I think that's better than being given like a piece of paper, because you've got to throw it away, haven't you? It's got to be disposable. So to have it available online, see, that would be great as well, in terms of the fact that if you could have a look to see what beers a place has got before you go there, then it would, assuming the place gets good beers in, I reckon that could actually convince someone like me to go somewhere over somewhere else if I could see actually these are what they've got on right now. So I'm going to go there and not go there. So if you believe in the beers that you get in, then why not? And it's kind of like a level up, isn't it, from kind of taking a picture of, here are the the clips of what we've got on today, kind of having a constantly updated online thing. It would be a great thing for a lot of venues. Shall we do quick words then on the beers that we've had? Adam, Clairvoyance, I think probably one that we've all had.
I've not really analysed it I've just drunk it as part of an evening. But yeah, it's kind of your classic kind of double dry hop thing. But it felt quite bitter, but in a good way, not like overly bitter, but more bitter than you would imagine. You tend to get more like sweeter versions. But yeah, Morrison's £3 can, kind of the 440 style ones. Recommend it if you're into that kind of double dry hopped hazy beer. Really, it's good. Yeah.
I think drinking a beer like Clairvoyance, you should have allowed me or James to have reviewed that for you, Adam. Mine was absolutely bang on. Lots of soft fruits in there again. My first beer of today, despite the fact that the Super Reds destroyed Notts Forest earlier on today, I resisted. I did have a non-vegan beer ready to drink tonight as an alternative. Had Barnsley been relegated, I've got Barnsley Bitter in there as well. So I was going to break that rule and put the Barnsley in as an overriding precedent just for today, but I can keep that now. I'll take that into the shop now and sell it. But the Verdant was outstanding. Really loved it.
Good. Similarly, the Deya, which was actually way more complicated a beer than I thought it was going to be. When I picked it up, just thought, oh, IPA. Didn't really think very much of it, but didn't realise it had got all the orange, pink grapefruit, and lemon zest in there. And actually, I can, as you drink it, you can make out each of those individual flavours. I can pick out the orange, I can pick out the grapefruit, and when you think about it, I can actually pick out the lemon zest as well. So very different to anything I've had before from Deya in terms of it's not just a hot bomb beer, but really nice, very pleasant. I kind of wish that I was sat outside in the sunshine drinking it, but I spent a bit of time in the sun this afternoon, so it's just a little bit belated, but very nice. Yeah, highly recommend it. Good stuff. Cool. Well, thank you, guys. So we'll be back. We're not going to make any promises about when it'll be because we did that last time and we obviously didn't make it the weekend after. So we will be back very soon, hopefully with Laura back with us as well. We'll get her beer of the month and we'll try and round up a guest. Incidentally, if there's anyone that watches these regularly or listens regularly that does fancy joining us, drop us a line, beer@sheffieldhopcast.co.uk. We are always on the lookout for new guests. You don't have to work in the world of beer at all. Just being a beer enthusiast, someone that enjoys having a drink, come and join us on an episode. Tell us about what beers you like, and let's have a good old chinwag.
Are you even allowing Leeds fans into that, James, as well?
Do you know what I'm going to do for the next episode, Sean? I'm actually going to get some yellow and red cards made.
No,
something's banned. That would be your red card offence.
We have in August. North are releasing a Leeds United promotion beer.
I will not be drinking it. I trust that you will not be stocking it either. Otherwise, I will be boycotting.
We will be stocking it, and there will be a free one of those in your box, James. Next time you're in. Will you turn that down?
I'll be torn between holding you to that and not wanting to drink that. What I will do is I'll be there outside your pub with a placard, one-man protest against you selling such a beer in Sheffield. Right, cool. Great to see you guys. Take care, and we'll be back soon.
See you later. Bye.
Ta-da.